Welcome to Wandering Jews at J Squared Adventures. Travel far enough and you meet yourself.
We're your hosts. I'm Scott.
I'm Sorrel.
High cliffs, scorching summer temperatures, few natural springs, a haven for scorpions and at one time robber bands, and an inland sea stinking of sulfur and salt. In this formidable landscape along the Dead Sea shore, an ancient Jewish sect once thrived, dedicated to a unique understanding of Judaism. At sites like Qumran, the scroll scraps and parchment fragments they left behind represent one of the 20th century's most important archaeological finds. This vast Dead Sea Scroll library comprises over 30,000 fragments, forming nearly 1,000 original documents. Approximately 15,000 of these fragments, representing almost 500 different texts, were unearthed at Qumran at cave number 4 alone.
Today on Wandering Jews, Scott and I are going to be delving into the story of Qumran and the Dead Sea Scrolls. It's a discovery that didn't just rewrite history. It exploded our understanding of the pivotal era of the Second Temple in the years of Herod, Jesus, and the Roman destruction of Jerusalem. But the question remains, who were the residents of Qumran, sometimes referred to as the Essenes, and more broadly as the Dead Sea Sect, or the Yahad?
A remote, rugged plain overlooking the turquoise expanse of the Dead Sea. Here lies Qumran, not a bustling city, not a huge urban center, a complex of stone structures. And for decades, scholars believed it was a permanent monastic settlement, a quiet retreat for a devout Jewish sect. But new theories paint an equally intriguing picture. Qumran may have been a pilgrimage site, a sacred hub where thousands of Essenes, a reclusive Jewish group, gathered annually to symbolically renew their covenant with God.
Picture this: vast public spaces, a pantry stocked with thousands of dining vessels, and one of the largest ritual baths, mikvaot, in the region. All far too grand for a small permanent community. This suggests a place designed for grand periodic assemblies where a dispersed network of believers would gather, camp under the stars, and engage in intense spiritual rituals. It's a powerful image of communal devotion set against a stark, beautiful landscape. It may well have looked like a Second Temple Burning Man or Coachella Festival.
Within the dusty caves surrounding Qumran, beginning in 1947, an unparalleled treasure emerged, the Dead Sea Scrolls. These aren't just old documents. They're a breathtaking library of ancient Jewish manuscripts, some of the oldest biblical texts ever found, alongside a treasure trove of sectarian writings, hymns, and the rules of a unique Jewish community now long extinct.
And we think that in 1947, it was the Bedouins who...
The famous story is that a young Bedouin boy searching for his sheep stumbled upon one of the caves and was surprised to find them filled with jugs after jug of parchments. And eventually they made their way to a archaeological dealer in Bethlehem.
That was before the state was even established.
That's right. Literally on the eve of establishment. And then eventually, in the days immediately following the United Nations vote on partition in November of 1947, the scrolls, at least the first of them, found their way into the hands of the outstanding Israeli archaeologist, Yigal Yadin.
Fascinating. And if we think of the Dead Sea Scrolls as a time capsule, it really offers an unprecedented peek into a vibrant, diverse period of Jewish history, predating Rabbinic Judaism and the rise of Christianity. The scrolls fundamentally reshapes our entire understanding of Second Temple Judaism, revealing it, rather than being a monolithic faith, a dynamic landscape of competing ideas. The scrolls actually challenge us to consider that even in Second Temple times, Judaism was a tree with many branches. Rather than it being Judaism singular, it's actually Judaisms. The scrolls illuminate the origins of concepts like mysticism, messianism, the end of days, ideas that would wildly influence both the development of our own Judaism as well as the evolution of Christianity. For instance, they show that many ideas central to early Christianity, such as diverse messianic figures and the Son of God concept, were already present and evolving within Jewish thought centuries before Jesus.
So one of the most tantalizing and enduring questions surrounding Qumran is who authored these enigmatic scrolls? The prevailing theory embraced by many points to the Essenes. Ancient historians, like your friend and mine, Josephus Flavius, describe the Essenes as an ascetic Jewish sect. In their practices, rigorous initiation rites, communal living, shared meals, and a strong emphasis on ritual purity align strikingly with what we find in the scrolls uncovered at Qumran.
But we can't really say the mystery's fully solved, right? I mean, some scholars propose a Jerusalem library theory, suggesting that actually the scrolls were a collection from various Jewish libraries in Jerusalem, hidden in the caves during the Roman-Jewish War. Perhaps recognizing the probability that the Roman Empire would eventually put down the Jewish revolt with extreme brutality, the scrolls were thought to have been smuggled out of Jerusalem to preserve the cultural legacy and life of the Jewish people. And, similarly, right, various European countries concealed their own cultural treasures during World War II so that their national heritage would not fall into alien, in this case, Nazi hands. For example, fearing a Nazi invasion of Britain, the British National Gallery hid its collection in a slate mine in Wales, and the Elgin marbles were stored in Aldwych tube station.
And new technologies are being employed to unravel the mysteries posed by the Dead Sea Scrolls and the Qumran community, including DNA analysis of the scroll parchments. The hope is that through DNA analysis, the types of animal hides can be identified. Are they local? Are they from distant places? All these clues offering a new insight into an ancient puzzle.
I think what we can say safely is that the Qumran community and the Dead Sea Sect, they defy easy labels, right? They actually embody aspects of several distinct movements. The more that we learn about this ancient stream of Judaism, what Josephus refers to as one of the schools of Second Temple Judaism, it's difficult not to draw contemporary parallels.
So were these the first Reform Jews?
In a sense, they were, but not in the modern progressive way we tend to think of Reform, right? The Qumran community was Reform in that they rejected the mainstream Jewish practices of their time, especially as it related to the Jerusalem temple and its rituals. Their version of Reform was a fervent return to what they believed was actually a stricter, purer, and more authentic interpretation of God's law. They saw themselves as the true interpreters of divine will, withdrawing from Jerusalem in protest over what they considered impure temple practices. They practiced a stringent adherence to the rules of ritual purity, and the Qumran compound contains between 10 to 16 mikvaot, ritual baths. In addition, several of the scroll fragments relate to the observance of a solar calendar, as opposed to the general Jewish acceptance of a lunar-solar calendar. And it's because of this calendar that our Jewish day begins at sunset, rather than sunrise.
So what about the first kibbutzim? Were these people the first kibbutznikim?
Now that's a striking resemblance. The Qumran community practiced strict communal living and shared possessions, much like, as you say, the pioneers of modern Israeli kibbutzim. Their texts describe a two-tiered economic system where communal use of wealth was central. All who joined were expected to bring, I quote, the full measure of their knowledge, strength, and wealth into Yah, the union, the community of God. This communalism was not secular or economic. It was actually deeply spiritual, aimed at achieving ritual purity and preparing for the Messianic era.
One scroll details their communal lifestyle through their meals. For example, the so-called Messianic banquet highlighted their structured life and their integration of their daily ritual with their future hopes. And the text reads, when they gather at the communal table, having set out bread and wine, none may reach for the first portion of bread or the wine before the priest. For the priest shall bless the first portion of the bread and the wine, reaching for the bread first. Afterward, the Messiah of Israel shall reach for the bread, finally each member of the whole congregation, of the Yachad, of the community, shall give a blessing in descending order of rank.
Can we say that they were the first monastic hermits?
To a significant degree, yes. The Qumran community exhibited strong characteristics of a monastic lifestyle and of an ascetic lifestyle. They lived in seclusion. They were largely celibate. They were mainly communities of men, and they were extremely religious. Membership involved rigorous tests and trial periods. Not all members lived in this kind of solitary, monastic, almost hermit-like lifestyle, but the community certainly embraced a very disciplined, very austere communal lifestyle, demanding a withdrawal from the material world, from mainstream society, and devoting themselves to a life of the spirit.
And on the issue of celibacy within this Dead Sea Sect, Josephus seems to suggest that this issue differed within the various subgroups of this school. Based on the excavations at the Qumran burial grounds, a number of female bodies were found among the majority male graves. Forensic archaeologist Josias suggests that the female bodies are not from Second Temple times, but are actually later interments made by the local Bedouin. So it's a subject of debate among archaeologists as to whether celibacy was a central principle of the life of the Dead Sea Sect.
But were they radical, revolutionary messianists?
Sure. I mean, the Qumran community was radical in its fervent, apocalyptic and messianic worldview, anticipating a dramatic, divinely orchestrated transformation of the world. Their revolutionary, quote-unquote, aspect stemmed from their profound rejection of the prevailing status quo and their meticulous preparation for an imminent, often violent, end of days. They held a radical dualistic thinking, sharply dividing the world into sons of light and sons of darkness.
So when you mention sons of light and sons of darkness, it brings to view the image of the giant white roof of the Shrine of the Book at the Israel Museum and that adjacent black monolith wall. The modern architects who built the Shrine of the Book, they wanted to capture the image of light and dark, of good and evil, that was central to the messianic narrative of the Dead Sea Scrolls in their design of the permanent exhibition hall dedicated to this incredible collection of ancient Jewish documents.
Yeah, the Dead Sea Sect, they were looking for an imminent divine judgment of the wicked and anticipated an end-time war. Their messianic expectations were particularly striking. Unlike many Jewish traditions that, focus on a single Messiah, the Qumran community actually anticipated two Messiahs, right? Why limit yourself to one? They shall govern themselves using the original precepts by which the men of the Yahads began to be instructed, doing so until come the prophet and the Messiahs of Aaron and Israel.
This kind of two-stage messianism, this duet, included a priestly Messiah from the line of Aaron and a royal Messiah from the line of David. They also believed in a powerful divine figure named Melchizedek, the king of righteousness, who they believed would usher in a spiritual jubilee. Melchizedek will proclaim the jubilee. He will release them from the debts and from all their sins. Then the day of atonement shall follow, when he shall atone for all the sons of light and the people who are predestined to Melchizedek.
The Scroll of War describes the preparation for the final war. And enemies included both the Roman occupation and empire, but also any violators of the covenant, referring to even Jews who did not hold with the Dead Sea Sect's outlook. The Scroll of War also includes detailed accounts of organizing and preparing, mobilizing troops.
So it wasn't kind of a fantasy novel. This Scroll of War functioned as a manual for military organization and strategy. It provided details and specifications for battle gear and signals. The scroll describes battle arrays, weaponry, the age of participants, military maneuvers, even recalling Hellenistic and Roman military manuals. It lays out a command structure of the army, detailing divisions of 10, of 50, of 100, of 1,000, of 10,000 men, as well as tribal units. It even goes into elaborate detail concerning battle trumpets, banners, and other operational matters. So the messianic vision of the Dead Sea Sect was not simply an abstract religious tenet. It was a practical, political, and military plan to fight the final war at what they hoped would be the end of days.
We can really look at the Qumran site and the Dead Sea Scrolls collectively as offering an extraordinary window into a pivotal period of religious history. While the Essene hypothesis remains the most comprehensive explanation for the community, it's clear they were a complex group. A reform movement driven by alternative approaches to the mainstream Judaism of the day. Even a kibbutz-like communal society. A monastic ascetic order, and most profoundly, radical, revolutionary messianists fueled by an intense apocalyptic vision.
Qumran and the Dead Sea Scrolls, they leave us with a question. And the scrolls, whether they were primarily authored or meticulously collected by this community, they reveal a Judaism far more diverse and dynamic than typically imagined. They provide critical insights into the origins of fundamental Western religious ideas, demonstrating the rich tapestry of thought that characterized the Second Temple period. The enduring legacy of the scrolls lies in their capacity to continually challenge, refine, enrich our understanding of ancient Jewish life, very intricate development of biblical texts, and of course the formative years of both Rabbinic Judaism and of early Christianity. The ongoing study of these ancient manuscripts promises further revelations, ensuring their continued relevance for generations to come. When we visit Qumran, when we talk about Second Temple history, 2,000 years ago, it boggles the imagination. It seems so far away. But I think one of the things that we tried to play with today a little bit was that, you know what? 2,000 years ago, we have a lot more in common than perhaps we thought we did at first glance. And now, something for the road. A tip, a recommendation to help you make every journey your own.
Hi, I'm Shira Kleinman, a tour educator and squad member here at J Squared Adventures, living in Haifa, but I have certainly spent many a day enjoying the calm, salty waters of the Dead Sea. What I love about the Dead Sea, aside from the heat, is that even something so simple as a beach visit has historical significance. Josephus Flavius, a first-century historian, documented in his book, The Jewish Wars, that the Roman soldiers heard this rumor that there was a sea in which you couldn't sink. So the commanding soldiers, with all of their excitement, voluntold some of their warriors to be tied up and thrown into the sea to test that very theory. And much to their surprise, these soldiers managed to float. Now, I certainly don't expect any of you to test the waters the same way they did, but to make sure that you have smooth sailing in the Dead Sea, I'll share with you a few tips of the trade to make your Dead Sea experience more enjoyable. Number 1, wear water shoes. The uneven terrain and sometimes jagged beaches can really hurt your feet, and it's no fun before entering a salty bath. Once you're in the water, you can take them off and have them float next to you. My second tip is float, don't swim. Huge advocate of physical activity, but this is not the place to test out those Olympic-worthy strokes. Rather, give in to the slow pace of the water, lean back, and float. The main goal is to enjoy your time at the Dead Sea without getting water in your eyes. A third tip is I don't recommend shaving for 24 hours before you enter the Dead Sea. Protect your body from all those little exposed pores that might sting when you hit the water. Fourth tip, definitely don't skip out in the mud. The Dead Sea mud is filled with minerals that make your skin silky smooth. Great for different skin conditions, not to mention, it's a great photo op. And last but not least, take off all of your jewelry before you head into the Dead Sea. Make sure it's tucked away in a safe place when you remove it, but those minerals that do wonders for your skin can wreak havoc on your jewelry. Better safe than sorry. And with that, I wish you all a peaceful floating and look forward to seeing you on your next J2 Adventures journey.
Thanks for listening. Dive deeper into the world of travel on our J Squared Adventures website. That's j2adventures.com. And stay in the loop with our latest adventures on all our social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, all under J2 Adventures. And if you enjoyed hanging out with us, don't forget to leave us a comment, review, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Until next time, travel safely and keep wondering. I'm Sorrel.
I'm Scott.
See you soon with the Wandering Jews.